you ever make too many plans while you're on vacation? I can't say this is really a vacation. I am working abroad for the next month or so, and this is my second month on the road, and I had a lot of plans, and a lot of them have just not happened. I think when we're traveling, we think we're gonna have so much extra time, and really you don't, because you need to get those 10-mile walks in to see everything and do everything while you're in the city. Plus, if you're like me, you're also working at night to keep your business alive. One of my plans was to create watercolor paintings on a daily basis, and that has not particularly happened yet. But now that I'm here in Venice and I don't have a million trees to photograph like I did in Rome, I'm hoping to get some watercolor under my belt. But in the meantime, I want to show you what I have been doing. So if you find that you're stuck trying to paint and it's just not coming, here's a fun exercise that you can do to relieve some of the pressure and also learn a lot about your watercolor pigments. So here I have this nice little watercolor Moleskine journal, which I will say is not actually watercolor. It is more multimedia. The paper's kind of thin, and I'm not sure I really like the texture that much. However, it is nice for travel because it's small. And what I wanted to do was create some color studies just to see how colors react to each other. So this was actually before I left. I was working on a painting of tangerines, playing around with different greens and oranges, and you can see how the pigments blend together and how they might make some interesting textures. So here's some that I started in advance, looking for colors for Rome, thinking about the colors of Italy in general, playing around with what skies, and I already know that we're going to be using a lot of ochres, a lot of golds, a lot of Sienas with the architecture. But when I got to Rome, it was cold and gray, and I took a picture of the Tiber River and wanted to explore those colors. And so here I have titanium buff, some Winsor green, cascade green. This is a German green umber, and cobalt violet. And so this is the color scheme that I created from this photo. And this is something I really like to do, is to find a photo, maybe saturate a little bit extra because sometimes the colors are a little dull, and then find a palette that I could use to paint, maybe not necessarily the Tiber River, but something Rome related that isn't your typical colors of Rome. We jetted down to Napoli. Well, we took the train down to Napoli for a quick weekend, and I took this photograph of these anchovies, and I really hyped up the color because, one, while the color themselves were already fun, I really wanted to oversaturate it. And I am planning on creating a painting or maybe a print from this image, and wanted to play around with really saturating that color. So here I've got cadmium yellow, cad red, quin gold, ultramarine blue, and some Payne's gray. And I just wanted to blend it together here to just see how it might all run together with those the silvery fish, and really amping up those colors. And then we went to Siena, and Siena was beautiful. If you haven't been, I highly recommend. And so much color in the city. What's funny though is not a lot of Siena necessarily. From this photo, I pulled out Aureolin cobalt yellow. Lots of bright yellow buildings in the city. It's really beautiful. And when you mix the Aureolin with the raw umber, you get almost like a Siena color, which feels a little more true to what those buildings look like. And then there's a lot of pinks and purples in the city, so this Perylene violet goes really well. And then they've got, instead of the little cobblestones of Rome, they've got these big cobblestones. And I thought this moon glow worked really well, and I love the texture of the Daniel Smith moon glow. It gives that gritty texture of the street. And the sky was just phenomenal in Siena. So we chose a phthalo blue here. So I thought it would be fun to do Florence with you. Now, Florence has a lot of the same building colors as Siena and as Rome. So I thought it would be nice to take the Duomo and really bring those colors alive from the Duomo. So I made these templates before I left. And I just take my fine liner. So here's our blending palette, you could say. And then, just to make things nice and neat, I've made this little template so I can write down what the color is and then do a little gradient. One of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I bought all these Daniel Smith watercolors and I have not really had a lot of time to experiment with them and see how they react to each other, and see what the qualities of each pigment does. And when you're tired from walking 5 to 10 miles a day, it's nice to be able to relax and just sort of play with color. For my colors for the Duomo, I picked a Sienna to bring out some of the darkness of the texture of the building. So we've got Sienna. I also have, what is this color? I wrote them on the back, which is not super handy. I picked two greens because the green marble on the Duomo has a lot of color differentiation. So I'm doing a sap green and Daniel Smith's Cascade green, which can separate out into blues and greens if you overwater it, which is really amazing. And then I picked two pink colors to go with the pink marble. I've got a Potter's Pink, and this is Piedmont Genuine. And then just really simply, I just wet this down. I need to clamp down these pages because they really warp. If I was going to do this again, I'd pick an actual watercolor book that had sturdier paper, but they're color studies. It will be fine. I will say that the colors on the Moleskine tend to be a little more muted than they are when I paint with watercolor paper. So that's something to keep in mind too. If I was really doing this scientifically, I'd probably want to use the same paper that I was going to paint with, but what can I say? Don't want to spend that kind of money maybe? I don't know. Let's get some dark. Ooh, sap green. And I really want to just see how the pigments flow if I use a lot of water. I think that's always really interesting. For instance, the Cascade green, I know can separate out. It comes on really thick, look at that. And then as you add water, it just flows. I mean, that almost looks just like the marble. And then if you add too much water, the blues and greens actually separate, which is very fun. I got this Potter's Pink not really knowing what I was going to do with it, but I really actually like it. It's a beautiful neutral or a soft pink even. I don't really know that much about the pigment. I didn't bring the tube, so I'll have to look it up. And then we have this Piedmont Genuine, which I absolutely love. And the marble on the Duomo has got lots of different colors, so I think that'll look really nice. And then as that dries, then what I like to do is I go over to this side and we're gonna write Il Duomo, Florence. And I just want to see how these colors are going to blend together. Now, if I was going to paint an actual picture of the Duomo, it might not matter so much, but I'm trying to learn about these pigments. So we're going to start, I guess we can start with the Siena. We're just going to get some pigment down in there. And then here's the sap green. Cascade green. Ooh, that really flows. Look at that. Potter's pink. I'm gonna get it in there so I can see how it reacts. If it pushes, like it kind of pushes away the other colors, that's really cool. And then the Piedmont. The sap green, I'm pretty sure it's Winsor Newton. Let's see what that does there. Get rid of some of the extra so it won't take forever to dry. And then we just wait for it to dry. And we've got a color palette for when it's time to paint this painting, or at least just a memory of Florence that teaches me something about my color palettes. And you can see with this Moleskine, like it really, the pigments just fall into the texture of the paper. Well, I hope you have a lovely week, and ciao from Venice.